Every video editor needs this AI tool that can organize your entire drive for you. But most of them are still dragging footage into folders, renaming exports, and rebuild the same system every single project. Only a few have figured out that you can hand this full job to AI and they are going to leave everyone else behind. And in this video, I will show you exactly how you can do the same, from what software you need to install to how you can actually use it, so you never again waste 20 minutes hunting for a clip in the middle of an edit. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Demian, and I help people become more productive with AI tools. So close all of your other tabs and let's dive right into it. But before I show you how you can organize your drive with AI, I want to first talk a little bit about why editors tend to struggle with all the files in their drive. And that is because every project has tens and sometimes even hundreds of different files, like footage, audio, graphics, and multiple different exports, which is very hard to keep organized by hand, especially when you're actively editing and you are inside the flow, we might say, and you need to quickly get an asset from the web. You're obviously not going to sit there and waste time trying to put it in the correct folder. You'll simply download it, immediately import it in your project and start using it. Which brings us on to the second reason why editors tend to struggle with file management, which is that a lot of times they tend to not rename the files and folders that they have, and they usually end up with something like this that says final mp4, final version 2, final real, final actual use this, and a bunch of weird names like this, which at the moment you do know what each one of these files are, but if you open up this project in 2 weeks, you will probably not remember and you will have to figure out what each one of the files and folders contain. And the third reason why they struggle is that the organization system that they have tends to die on a deadline. And what I mean by deadline is when they are in a very big rush to finish a project because the deadline is coming, then all the best organization practices, renaming folders, putting the files in the correct folder, tend to go out the window. Since when you're rushing to finish your project, you just download everything, you drop it into the downloads folder or desktop, you immediately import it, and you are rushing to finish the project. And since these tight deadlines tend to happen a lot of editors have very messy desktops and overall folder structures in their PC. But what if your drive could actually organize itself using AI and you didn't have to do anything? Well, thankfully there exists an app that does this for you, and that app is called Filect. And what Filect does is it allows you to automatically organize your folders and files based on instructions that you give just one time. Now, to download Filect, you will need to go over to filect.io, which I will also leave a link for in the description below, and then you simply need to come over here and download it for either Windows or macOS. And once you download it and you create a free account, taking advantage of the 10-day free trial that they are offering, you will be brought over in this interface over here, which is the organized section that Filect has. And just so you guys understand, Filect has 2 different organize options. They have the organize now option, which actively shows you what organization Filect is going to do, and they also have the auto organize option, which allows you to set Filect to automatically organize your folders for you. Now, most of you are probably going to be interested in the auto organize section, but let's start with the organize now section, which to use you simply have to come over here and choose one folder that you have in your PC. For me, it is going to be this folder over here that is called Filect Assets. And just so you guys have some context, this folder includes a green screen, it includes a thumbnail, it includes a random Coca-Cola bottle, a bear, an intro, a full 20-minute video, and a background clip. And now let's say I wanted to take these files and put them into relevant folders. Well, all I would have to do is to simply come back over to Filect and explain in a simple text prompt exactly how I want the organization to happen. Now let's say, for example, that I wanted to put all the clips into a folder that's called videos, then I want to put all the images in a folder that's called images, and I want to put my green screen in a folder that's called assets. And now that I described that, all I have to do is to simply come over here and click on generate plan, which is then going to ask me if I want to allow Filect to analyze these files. So we'll click on yes, and this is going to analyze these files, including the videos, and now this is going to return me a proposed organization structure, where as you can see, we have this folder that's called assets that has my green screen inside it. Then we also have an images folder that has all the images and a videos folder that has all the videos. Now, if I'm not satisfied with something, I can simply come over here in the refine plan section and simply describe what I want Filect to change. and it's going to go over and make that change for me. Now let's say for example I wanted a separate folder for the intro. I could simply come over here and say, hey, I also want you to create a separate folder for the intro and put the intro in that folder. And now if I click on refine plan, you will see that this is going to create me a brand new intro folder that's going to include the intro of my video. And once I'm satisfied with the proposed organization, all I have to do is to simply come over here and click on apply organization and move files. And this is going to move all those files into the 4 different folders exactly as we saw in the proposed organization section. So as you can see over here we have my green screen, over here we have our images, over here we have the intro of our video, and over here we also have the background and the full length clip. But that still does require for you to manually open up Filect and perform that organization. So to automate this process, we need to move over in the auto organize section, where all we have to do is to simply click on the edit button, and then we can come over here and add in a folder just like as we did in the organize now section. Now let's say I want to select my Filect assets folder again, and then we can see that we again have the option to give it a prompt. Now let's say this time we wanted the auto organizer to actually put these assets into just 2 different categories. One would be anything that has to do with videos. It would put it in a videos folder, and everything else would put it in a folder that's called everything else. Hey, so what I want you to do is to move all the videos in a folder that's called videos, and everything else that exists in that folder, I want you to move it in a folder that's called everything else. And now that we described that, we have 3 different options by coming over here and clicking on the options button. We have the reorganize all option, which is going to reorganize everything that we have in that folder based on our new instructions. Then we also have the organize as is option, which is going to apply our instructions to our current folder structure. So if you have a folder structure that you really like and you don't want to mess with it, you can simply select that option, and then it's going to organize your files based on that. And then we have the organize new only, which only organizes any new files that go in that folder and keeps everything that already exists there intact. Now for this example, I want to reorganize all, so I will simply select it, and then I will click on save and start. And what this is going to do is start the auto organizer, which is from now on going to monitor that folder and organize it based on the instructions that I gave. So if I now come back over in that folder, we can see that this completely changed the previous folder structure, and it created just these 2 folders, one that's called videos that has all of our videos, and one that's called everything else that has everything else. And just so you can see that this automatically organizes anything new that comes inside it. Let's say I go over to Google and I find a lion picture that I like, let's say this one for example, and then I come over here and I save it inside the folder that Filect is currently looking at. And you will see that if I now move over in that folder, this lion is going to get analyzed, and once the Filect analysis finishes, which it just did, it will be moved over to the correct folder, which should be the everything else folder. And as you can see, that's exactly what it is right now. Plus, what I really like about Filect is that they have this history section over here, which you can actually click on, and you can see all the organizations that you have done previously. And you can also click on view button next to each one of those, where then you can see where all the movements of all the files, and if you want, there is a revert button, which if you actually click on, it will revert everything back to how it originally was. So as you can see, I just did that, but Filect doesn't just help you organize your files, and it also helps you find them. And how it does that is through the search feature that it has. And the difference between this search and the typical search that Windows and Mac have is that this search allows you to find the content of the actual file that you're looking for, and not just for how it is named. So as an example, let's say that we wanted to find this Coca-Cola bottle over here. And as you can see, this file is named images.jpg, which has nothing to do with Coca-Cola, nothing to do with bottle, and it's just a very vague name. But with Filect, you can very easily find it by simply describing what this file has, which is a Coca-Cola bottle. So if I search for Coca-Cola, you will see that this will actually return me that file with the name of images.jpg, which if I actually open, you will see is the exact Coca-Cola bottle that we have inside our folder. And where this can be very useful is when you are inside your video editing program. It can be CapCut, it can be Premiere Pro, it can be DaVinci, doesn't really matter. And you click on the import button and you try to remember how the file that you want was named so you can immediately find it. Well, normally what you will do is you will simply go over in your desktop, look in your folder structure, go over your downloads folder and try to find it. But with Filect, you can simply come come over here to the search, press Ctrl, Shift and Space, and this tab is going to pop up, which basically serves as the search function that you saw before, but this time inside the app that you're using. So let's say I wanted to search for the previous Coca-Cola bottle. I can simply search for Coca-Cola, and then this will return me my Coca-Cola image that is called images.jpg. And also if I want, I can simply come over here, click on the fill button, and what this is going to do, it will automatically import it for me so I can then use it on my project. Which means that you can use Filect and find any asset that you want, even from inside your video editing software. And just to address a concern that a lot of you might have, which is, will Filect be able to analyze any file that I have in my PC? And to that I have to say, no, it will not automatically be able to do that, and it can only analyze files that you specifically give it access to through the Analyze Files tab and through the Organize section. So if you have not specifically given it access to a folder or a file, then Filect will not be able to see what this file is about, which means that you can also keep private the things that you want, while you can also use AI and specifically Filect to organize and find the files that you want. So if you want to try out Filect, you can click the top link in the description, which is going to bring you over to filect.io, where then you will be able to download it and try it out completely for free by simply enabling your 10-day free trial. And if you don't like it, you can simply cancel your trial and you will not be charged. But also YouTube thinks that you're going to enjoy this video, in which I show you the 5 best AI productivity tools of 2026. So make sure you go and watch that next, and I will see you over there.